This is a short film on how to draw ellipses. So what do we mean by an ellipse? Ellipse is whenever we're drawing something which has a round or circular top, and then we apply perspective to it so we see it as a flattened oval shape. So let's just think for a moment about what it is we're looking at when we draw an ellipse. So if I were to start off with a square that we are looking at straight on, if we were to turn this side of the square away from us and apply 1 point perspective to it, we would recognise that then it would turn into something like this shape, seeing this edge in the distance. If we go back to the original square and I add a grid, and then that helps me just to draw a circle inside that square shape. So I've now got a circle that sits nicely inside the square. If we then go back to the shape which has had perspective applied and add the grid, so this time the halfway line will be just above halfway because we're seeing more of this space which is nearest to us. I can still then go back in and draw the circle into the shape, and this time we're seeing it as a flattened circle because we've applied perspective and we're indicating that this side is further away from us now. So when we draw ellipses, it's quite crucial how big we make them in the drawing. So for example, if I were to draw the top of a baked bean tin as quite narrow, it indicates to the viewer that we're looking at this fairly at eye level and we can't see very much across the top of the shape. If I were to draw it as a much bigger ellipse, it now indicates that we're seeing this looking down onto it and we can see across the top far more. And why does this matter? Well, because it then affects all of the other objects that you're drawing in your composition. So establishing the viewpoint is really important in order to achieve consistency. So how do we decide how much we want to get down on the paper in terms of this distance here? So you can do it using a little bit of comparative measuring. So holding out your arm at arm's length, closing one eye, lining up the point of your pencil with 1 point on your object, moving your thumb up and down, and then taking a measurement and then comparing it to another measurement. So if we were to draw a baked bean tin, I might measure the width and the height, and then I might say, right, I want my height to be this big, and then compare the width, and the width is, say, going to be that wide compared to the height. Now, how big is the ellipse across the top? How big are we going to make this here? So having measured the width, you can then take that measurement, looking at your baked bean tin, turn your pencil 90 degrees, and then compare to how much you can see across the top of the baked bean tin. So I might say, just put in a very light horizontal line. So I'm measuring this and comparing it to this, and I might say, right, this width is double what I can see here. So the amount across the top of the ellipse is half of the overall width. So I can make an indication of the halfway point, I can half it again, and then I know this amount I want to have above the line and the same below the line. And then from there you can simply add in your ellipse using those markers. So hopefully the amount that you're seeing now across the top of the can is in proportion to the width of the can as well. And then when you want to draw in the ellipse at the bottom edge of your can, you've established the height in comparison to the width, so you can take the size of this line, the length of that line, move it down so it hits the midpoint, make a little mark. So this line here is now the same as this line, and again then you can just join up that bottom ellipse using your markers. And of course the key thing about ellipses is that as much as possible you want to keep them fluid and circular, and try to avoid ellipses that have pointy corners. Okay, thanks very much.